What's up, y'all? Welcome to Wabworks. Bought me a hog leg Honda here. It's a Rincon 680, which is kind of the predecessor to the Rubicon 700s now. Bought this for my nephew. Pretty good deal. It currently does not run, but he said the only thing that it needed was a battery, and it would crank up and run. Then he said, oh yeah, the water pump leaks. That's why he parked it. Oh yeah, there's a boot busted on the CV shaft. Oh yeah, the seat's all raggedy. It probably needs to be replaced. So the list kind of started growing a little bit on us. But we did pre-order some parts, so hopefully we can get this thing running and get it dolled up. Get it looking a little bit better, fix some of the issues with it. But it's a pretty good bike. I'm pretty excited to get back to wrenching. You know, on this channel we're all about racing, wrenching, and riding. And I put out a couple riding videos here lately. Racing's way too expensive and I can't afford it, so let's get back to wrenching. I bought this thing and it's got aftermarket wheels and tires on it. It's got the Maxxis Bighorn 2.0 27-inch tires on this thing, which is muy bueno. It's got some aftermarket lights on it. Of course, there's some issues. Might need to fix that. But it's got LED light bars, 2 on the front. It's also got a reverse light here on the back, which is pretty cool. The seat on this thing shot. You can't even recover that. It probably just needs to be replaced. Of course, the leaves and the dirt and the grime, all that needs to be cleaned up. It's got a good bumper on it on the front. All the brakes work-ish. The rear brakes are a little bit loose, I guess. They probably need to go through. It's got a master cylinder for the foot pedal and it's shot. It don't work at all. It's just non-existent. The brake lever on the bars work, so you do have a little bit of back brakes. It's got this cool dry box on there. It's a Tamarack Classic Series dry box. Let's look in here and see what we got. Oh, batteries. Does anybody ever use these anymore? And for what? We got this towel. That's pretty cool. I can wash that. Shoot, yeah. Vice grips. Perfect. Love vice grips. What? They seem to work. And a 1/2-inch bolt. Trash. Goggles that I think I gave him when we were riding one time. 10mm wrench. Shoot, yeah. That's the find of the century right there. And more batteries. And dirt and grime. But, cool little deal. I guess the first thing we'll try is to change this battery out, put a fresh battery in there. If this works, this is going to be great. He did say that he had it crunk up right before, but he had to use a jump box. So we changed this battery. I'm expecting it to crank right up, which is going to be awesome. That's $50 and have a running four-wheeler. To do that, the battery box is right in here, which is kind of hard to get to. So I think the first thing that I'm going to have to do is get this thing up on jack stands and get all the wheels off, because I'm going to have to get all this stuff. And if we get it crunk up, I do want to check the voltage to see if it's charging, because he said that he parked this thing due to the water pump leaking, and then it sat for a long time. That's kind of what killed the battery, is what he was thinking. So I do want to make sure it's charging and make sure there's not an issue with that part of the bike. So we'll get this thing lifted up in there and we'll get this battery changed out. This is the battery box, and we gotta take this bolt out, and then this should pop open. We'll clean all this up, get the old battery out, Put the new battery in, which is a $50 battery from Harbor Freight. Hopefully it'll be strong enough to do what I need to do. But yeah, so let's get started getting this out. It looks like a 10 millimeter. We'll start there. All right, let's get this off. Yep, 10 millimeter. Gotta take 2 bolts off. And the box should come off. There we go. All right, 2 bolts. Pop the battery. Oof, oof. Might clean that up later. And it does look like this battery's been here a while. Parts unlimited. I know this battery's dead, but I always take the negative off first. And then we'll take the positive off. At least they're all color coded. That's good. Let's see if we can pull this bad boy out. Oh, one more positive that's stuck on there. There we go. All right. Oh. Well, guys, I think we got a problem. The battery I got is not going to work. I'll tell you why. Normally, I wouldn't care. I would just put it in there. It probably has enough power. However, the size of this battery compared to this one, you can see this one's shorter. It's not as wide. It's about the same thickness, but batteries in four-wheelers need to be secure because there's a lot of jouncing around, bouncing, jumping, things like that. And I have had batteries move around and actually break the post off of the batteries. Actually, we had that happen to Wyatt's four-wheeler. So I'm going to try to go to town and find this battery. Maybe I can just save this one and use it for another project someday. So, like I was saying, if I can get this thing running for 130 bucks, it's gonna be awesome. Looks like this one's gonna have the acid already in there, so I don't have to do nothing except put her in. Oh yeah. Before we put that cover back on, I want to see if this thing will crank up. All right, let's switch it on and see if we got anything. Hey, we got lights. If you look real close, you see that the display is kind of half gone right here, which is kind of common in these things, but let's see if this thing will bust off. Oh yeah, I didn't film it, but I did check the oil earlier and it was good to go. So always check your oil before you fire these things off. I'm gonna get the little digital meter thing and see if this thing's charging. Put her on the volts here, DC, and we'll just touch these. 14, that means it's charging. So we're good to go. Like I say, it did have leaky water pumps, what my nephew told me, so haven't checked the water or anything in it, so I don't want it to run hot. I'm not gonna leave it running very long. We'll start going over everything else. That has to be the easiest will it start ever. Put a battery in there and it fires right up. All right, so on to the next thing. I don't have a water pump. I didn't receive the water pump that I ordered, but we can go ahead and start working on this CV axle boot. What we're gonna have to do, take this nut off right here. So pull that hub, take it loose, take the hub loose from here and the shock, and then we can snatch this out and see if we can start repairing this boot. Once you straighten out the cotter pin, just get a little bit on the other side and you can grab a hold of it and kind of pry out with these. Sometimes you risk cutting it, but if we cut it, that's okay because I got more. Yep, perfect. Now we got that out. Pull this hub out. Ah! Really? I didn't want it to fall off. Why is everything on this thing so tight? There we go. That's what was holding us. There we go. And this right here should just pop out. Might have to tie this up out of the way. Yeah, tie that up. Oof. Oof. Let me think. Give me a minute.
One eternity later.
Okay, I'm not out of the woods yet. I've been doing some stuff. So, still haven't got this one out, which is the one I need to get out. But we had to get this one out so I can try to get something in there to knock that one out. But if you look down in there, it's pretty rusty down in there, and they're just stuck in there. Right now we're gonna put some lubricant, WD-40, into the differential and try to let it soak down for a minute, and then we'll try to knock this left side axle, CV axle out. I'm gonna spray this down real good, and we're gonna let it sit a minute, and then see if we can get something to knock it out. I don't know if you can tell, but it's dark in here. We lost power somehow. I don't know what happened, but that's not going to keep us from doing what we need to do. So where we're at right now is we're going to take this rebar, this scrap rebar that I got, to try to knock that other CV shaft out. All right, you gonna catch it, Way? Oh yeah. There it goes. Finally. Woo! Yeah, I know, right? Jeez. Well, I apologize for the terrible lighting, but we got this CV shaft. We got to replace this boot right here. We got another one over there, but we got to get it apart. It comes apart from this end. Sometimes there's a circlip in there. Sometimes you just knock it off, but we're gonna find out real quick. I got my boots right here. Comes with grease. Comes with a new nut, new bands, both ends. So first thing we need to do is take these bands off. And I'm just gonna cut these basically. Just kind of pry it up, cut it. What's up, nephew? What's up? You just slide this boot down. First thing I want to do is try to get all the grease, excess grease that I can off of here. If you look real close, right here is a cert clip that you got to remove. This cert clip, you just pry up and just unravel it. You can slide this out and get everything cleaned up real good. Just like that. Just come around like that. We're going to clean all this stuff up real good. And then this should just slide out like so. And we're going to have to clean all this gritty grease out of there and make sure it's really clean when we go back together with it. There's a retaining ring that you got to get off, and this will slide off. It's hard to see without any light in the shop. Yep. Here we go. And you can just slide this completely off. And there's your messed up boot. Since we got another boot, I'm going to take this one off as well, throw it away. So I'm going to get all this cleaned up, and then we'll start going back together with it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this boot put on this end. And then we'll slide this boot over everything. And you want to do this dry really, so to have a good seal. Go ahead and clamp this side, but you need to put some grease in there when you clamp it. So And like I say, you don't want to get that grease on that boot, so we're just going to kind of roll it around, push it in a little bit, and we're just going to carefully put this over like that, and then this one slides into a groove as well. Now we're going to take this boot, slide it all the way back out of the way. And you just take this, line your bearings up with the holes, slide it down in there. But like I say, just make sure you're not getting grease on the boot, because it does need to be a dry fit for sure. Okay, and just start with one edge of it and just work your way around. We're going to dry fit this. Well, after hours and hours of messing with these shafts, we finally got it where we can go back together with it. And I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on these splines. That way the next time maybe it won't be so hard to get in and out. I was always told the best way to put anti-seize on, just touch it with your finger and it'll get everywhere. So I'm going to do that. Here we go. Wish me luck. I'm going to put it pretty thick on here because that was terrible trying to get these things off. Then you should just line up the splines and just might have to get a hammer. See if we can get it to pop in. Perfect. That's the way it's supposed to work. I'm gonna get this put back together. I'm also gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on these. Up. She'll do. Line these splines up. Just tap it on. All right. Now there's a very specific torque that this thing has to have. The very specific torque is about 4 or 5 ugga-duggas. We're gonna get this shock put back on. This goes first. Okay, tappy tap. Now the cap goes on there, and now this goes in here with the bolt. In we go. Put it in the on mode and tighten everything up. And of course this one was like super tight. I don't think I'm gonna put it that tight again. All right, we got this side complete. We're gonna rinse, repeat on the other side. Well, we are officially riding it. I done got through with the test ride. It did really well. And I'm gonna pull it over here, see if we can wash it and get some of this grime off, see if we can clean this thing up. So I put a new seat on it. That looks great. And I think a lot of this grime come off of here and I hit it with a pressure washer. We're gonna see if this thing will clean up. I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve to try to make this thing look better too. So let's get it washed first. Well, it's getting a little late in the day to finish up the red four-wheeler. We got distracted a little bit. Helped my nephew finish up this platform, and then also helped my other nephew put a 2-inch lift on this Polaris Sportsman 450, and we mounted some new tires on it, so we had to go test that out. It worked out great. Like, he didn't even have to put it in four-wheel drive to go through some of the mud on the property. So we'll get back on her tomorrow and try to get her dolled up a little bit. And there's a couple things I want to do with the racks, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, it's another day. She's looking pretty good. The only thing is I still got to change that water pump, which came in, by the way, which is awesome. Change the water pump, and there's just something about it that I think needs to be done on those racks. They're a little bit rusty, and just the silver just don't say it to me. I think we need to change the color on those. So I got the front of it off. Got the bumper and the plastic guard ground paint. See if we can get this back on. Now that we got all the bumpers off, me and Wyatt's going to sand these down, and we're going to get them painted up. Got to get Wyatt's going to do the back rack, sanding it down. I got the front bumper, and we're going to sand down that front rack. We're going to get them all painted up, and then we'll start going back together with this stuff. For this front bumper, I'm going to use this premium undercoating for the front bumper. It covers pretty good, and it's like a rubberized coating. So with the front bumper hitting up against weeds and trees and sticks and mud and all that stuff, I think this will be a little bit more tough to withstand all that. So I want to paint the front bumper with this, but when we get to the racks, we got some high gloss that we're going to paint with that. So let's get started on painting this. So this stuff coats well. So I really like this for bumpers and under wheel wells and stuff like that. Now we got the back rack prepped and ready. We're gonna spray this. So I'm using wheel enamel for this rack because it should be a little bit, I don't know, tougher, a little bit harder paint when it dries up. So if it's good enough for a wheel, it's good enough for a rack, right? Let me get a couple coats put on this, and then I think we're gonna call it a night, and we'll be back with you tomorrow. Okay, I lied. While I'm waiting, I thought about just popping off this water pump and replacing it. Ain't nothing really to it. A couple hoses, couple bolts, and pops out, new O-ring, pop a new one in. We just gotta make sure that that shaft's lined up. Really nothing to it. You got this bolt right here that you gotta take out. Take off this hose. There's two hoses on top here. Gotta take off. And then if you look way up here, right there, there's a bolt that you gotta get out. So I'm gonna get started doing that and try to knock it out real quick before we go in for tonight. Alright guys, this is the important part. When you pull this out, you have to notice where that shaft's at in relation to the slot that turns it. So let's try to get this thing out. Well, I just got back from my daughter's last tennis match of the season, but I was able to get these things painted up. So I got a couple coats on them and they're looking pretty good. You know it's good when it's got grass and dirt and bugs stuck in it. Great paint job. Tomorrow we'll start putting everything back together and see how this $300 restoration on this four-wheeler works out. Well, I got the racks put on, got them painted, got everything put back together. But before I do the big reveal, there's one other thing that I want to get done. I got a service kit. I'm going to get all that changed out, and then we'll show you what a $300 restoration looks like. If you remember at the beginning, this thing was kind of ratty. It wasn't running, but luckily it was just a battery. So I replaced the battery, got it running. The seat was trashed. Replaced the seat, cleaned it all up, replaced the left rear axle shaft boots, and took the racks off of them and painted all the racks. I appreciate you guys for watching. Here's a little bit of before and after of the Hog Leg Honda.